continually tries to cut you off at the knees like that.
He has forced her to break the $40 billion deficit.
Chrystia Freeland is having a tough week.
He wants to humiliate her further.
The same pattern is going to happen with Chrystia Freeland.
Really not very elegant.
So I am not going to comment. And in the fall economic statement on Monday, we will show that the government is maintaining its fiscal anchor, specifically reducing the federal debt as a share of the economy over the medium term. In addition, I expect...
In the spring budget speech, you said it was responsible to have very specific, fiscal guideposts, including limiting the deficit to $40.1 billion or lower. So are you saying you're now comfortable going past that?
So I am not going to comment on anonymous rumors that are out there in the town right now.
It's fair to say Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland is having a tough week. The Globe and Mail is reporting tensions are so high between Freeland and the Prime Minister over spending plans that there are renewed talks to bring Mark Carney into government. Are Freeland's days as Finance Minister numbered? Let's ask our front bench.
These leaks every day over the last week are just really not very elegant and very, very, I think, hurtful to the brand of the government. And ultimately the Prime Minister, if that's where the leaks are coming from. And now we have this leak in a very, very negative way. And I think it's really not fair to the Finance Minister to go through this leak from the Prime Minister's office.
One only has to look at, what happened to Bill Morneau when he crossed, in his views with the Prime Minister on spending, and he found himself on the outs. And it appears that the same pattern is going to happen with Chrystia Freeland.
You mentioned politicians. Minister, I just wanted your ideas as to what you believe your leader, the Prime Minister, is doing to the Finance Minister. We've seen 2 days of leaks in the Globe and Mail, and we know now that he has forced his radical spending on your Finance Minister, Minister Freeland, and that he has forced her to break the $40 billion deficit. And in fact, we just found out today, that he is begging Mark Carney, carbon tax Carney, conflict of interest Carney, to serve as the next Finance Minister of Canada. So your Prime Minister, who actually is overseeing all of this procurement, all of this fraud under CEBA, under ArriveScan, I have some sympathy for you, that he is now going to oust the first female finance minister in Canadian history. Do you think that's right?
Stone, Globe and Mail, we've all agreed to do one question so everyone can get in. Minister Freeland, we've been reporting all week about tension between your office and the Prime Minister's office over the fiscal policy in this country. We've said that the Prime Minister is again in talks with Mark Carney to join the government, and the Prime Minister appears unwilling to personally defend you in public. How can you stay in the government when the Prime Minister continually tries to cut you off at the knees like that, and will you fight back against this effort to replace you?
Well, thank you for the question. For me, it is a huge privilege that I do not take for granted to serve Canada and Canadians every single day. It's a big deal. There are kids here who went to school with my daughter who are great young innovators, and I'm really proud to be able to offer them something that will help their company. I'm proud and grateful to be able to serve in the cabinet of the Prime Minister. And I really don't spend a lot of time focusing on Ottawa gossip. My focus is on doing what I can to serve Canada and Canadians in what's a really challenging time for our country.
Next question, prochaine question.
Mr. Speaker, we have two sources saying the view of some senior officials within the PMO, including Chief of Staff Katie Telford, that the Phantom Finance Minister has been ineffective in selling the government's economic policies. So, it's curious because we have a fake feminist Prime Minister who says he's all for women. Taxes are up, costs are up, the economy's in the toilet, and this carbon tax, Mark Carney, is now going to quadruple the carbon tax on all home heating across Canada. Yeah. So why is this Phantom Finance Minister okay with being publicly humiliated by this fake feminist Prime Minister?
The Honourable. Next week's fall update is teeing up to be yet another dramatic disaster because at this point, we're not even sure who the finance minister is going to be by Monday. The Globe and Mail reports that tensions between the Prime Minister and the finance minister have never been worse and getting more intense by the day. She wanted to run a gigantic $40 billion deficit, what she called her guardrail. Now the Prime Minister is pushing her through that guardrail and over the fiscal cliff. And now he learned he wants to humiliate her further by firing her and replacing her with carbon tax Carney. Even Liberal MPs are calling all this chaos out by saying, quote, the federal budget is not an unlimited pot and we need to show fiscal restraint. Well, that's a little late after 9 years. Yeah. This week, Prime Minister has lost control of immigration, borders, spending, inflation, the debt, and even his ministers. Common sense Conservatives on this side, meanwhile, are fully united behind our leader and ready for a carbon tax election. Hey, hey, hey.